A massive explosion rocks the city, sending terrified civilians scrambling for safety amidst the sudden chaos. Streaks of fire rain down from the sky, signaling a brutal and unexpected assault on the zone. A mysterious blue energy core pulses with intense power. Seemingly caught in the middle of the destruction, our protagonist lies injured and bleeding, his body struggling to contain the overwhelming surge of raw energy. This blue aura intensifies, wrapping around his heart as he undergoes a painful and life-altering transformation. Meanwhile, at the local high school, a massive crowd of students gathers for the high-stakes placement exam. An instructor explains the rigorous grading system, emphasizing that only the top performers will secure their future. He warns the students that only the absolute best will earn a spot in the prestigious academy. Our protagonist watches the crowd, knowing this exam is his final, desperate shot at becoming a true warrior. Recovering from 2 years of medical leave, he steels his resolve to seize this one last chance. Chengdu turns around, immediately drawing the unwanted attention of his former classmates. They mock his 2-year medical absence, clearly doubting he has any chance of passing. A bully looms over him with a menacing grin, sarcastically calling him a genius. Chengdu brushes off the provocation, calmly telling the instigator to worry about himself. He walks away with a firm grip, leaving the group stunned by his sudden confidence. This bullies whisper among themselves. Confused by the unexpected strength in his casual touch, they decide to hold off on a confrontation until the official assessment begins. Plotting to cause him serious trouble during the exam, they revel in their malice. Chengdu ignores the threats, focusing his attention on the computer screen before him. He begins the exam, recalling the dark history of the world's collapse and energy surge. A cosmic entity looms over the planet, marking the start of a global, world-ending catastrophe. Radiation and chaos forced humanity to evolve, pushing survivors to reach new levels of strength. Warriors began training their bodies to survive in this harsh, unforgiving new era of conflict. Our hero channels his internal energy, mastering the power that once nearly destroyed his life. This old world crumbled away, leaving humanity to forge a new path in this dangerous age. Academic tests now determine a person's worth, forcing everyone to prove their knowledge and skill. Chengdu breezes through the digital exam, easily securing a perfect score with his unique abilities. His secret training in a strange dimension gave him the edge needed to dominate everything. Heading home after the test, he finds his father waiting with a warm, simple dinner. His dad hands over his admission ticket, marking the next step in his martial journey. Chengdu joins his family for dinner, unaware of the surprise his father has prepared. He is handed a bottle of rare chi blood pills, clearly meant to boost his performance. His dad insists on the gift, hoping these expensive supplements will secure his son's future. Although Chengdu feels he can succeed on his own, he appreciates the gesture. His father places a hand on his shoulder, emphasizing the importance of family support, acknowledging the sacrifice. Chengdu accepts the pills with a quiet, determined smile. He realizes the heavy financial burden this purchase placed on their modest household savings. Knowing the exam is critical, he retreats to his room to focus on his training. He enters a mysterious crystal dimension, where he manifests his unique, glowing blue energy, facing off against shadow monsters. He prepares to defend the core and hone his skills. Chengdu realizes that dying in the crystal space is actually his fastest way to recover. He dives back into the fray, treating every defeat as a brutal but necessary training session. Fighting these monsters is a high-stakes gamble where he trades his life for massive power gains. This system warns him that only the first successful defense of the core grants real rewards. He unleashes his sword techniques with lethal precision, carving through the waves of incoming shadow beasts. Every strike he lands pushes his spiritual power higher, sharpening his mind and his combat reflexes. This battlefield remains a chaotic mess of energy, but he stands tall amidst the fading shadows. Checking his status, he wipes the sweat from his brow and prepares for the next round. His stats are climbing, yet he knows he needs much more to become a true elite. This system alerts him that the 5th wave is already closing in, forcing him to focus. A massive dragon descends with a torrent of fire, forcing Chengdu to dodge quickly. He keeps his distance while analyzing the beast's movements to find an opening for attack. Dodging a lethal claw swipe, he counters with a precise strike against the creature's scales. This dragon lashes out with a heavy tail whip, but he manages to deflect it, keeping his composure. He realizes he has finally memorized the monster's aggressive combat rhythm perfectly. He channels his blue energy into his blade, preparing to unleash a devastating new technique. Executing a swift sword strike, he cuts through the dragon's defenses with blinding, glowing speed. This beast enters a berserk state, its body glowing with intense heat and raw power. Chengdu remains focused, standing his ground as the enraged monster prepares another massive assault. He narrowly avoids a direct hit, realizing that his training is finally paying off dividends. Chengdu steels his nerves, fully committed to crushing this trial once and for all. He launches himself into the air, closing the gap with a burst of blue energy. This massive dragon snaps its jaws, but our hero dances just out of reach. Dodging the beast's heavy tail swipe, he maneuvers with a speed that defies all expectations. Flames erupt as the dragon breathes fire, yet Chengdu uses his small frame perfectly. He weaves through the inferno, turning the monster's own size into a major tactical disadvantage. This creature roars in frustration, its glowing core pulsing as it prepares another lethal strike. Relying on pure agility, Chengdu grips his blade tight and readies a final blow. He channels every ounce of his power into a single blinding strike of blue light. This dragon collapses under the sheer force of the technique, ending the brutal training round. Chengdu delivers the final blow, watching as the massive beast finally crumbles into nothingness. This system confirms his victory, granting him the rare immortal visualization method as a reward. He realizes this technique is a game changer for boosting his spiritual power beyond normal limits. Before he can even celebrate, the system warns him that another wave is already approaching. A horde of 30 shadow monsters emerges, each one stronger than his current power level. Realizing he cannot win this round, he decides to retreat and focus on his new technique. He pulls up the mysterious visualization method, eager to see what this power truly offers. Stepping into the digital void, he prepares to unlock the secrets hidden within the manual. A terrifying shadow entity looms over him, testing his resolve as he begins his meditation. He finally understands that this method requires facing his fears to truly master his strength. Chengdu wraps up his intense meditation session, feeling the residual energy humming through his veins. His sister interrupts the focus, calling him out for a quick meal before the big day. He pulls on his shirt, clearly showing off the physical gains from his grueling training sessions. She notices a sudden change in his appearance, teasing him about his newfound, sharp-edged confidence. Chengdu playfully messes up her hair, brushing off her comments with a smug, brotherly grin. She remains visibly flustered by his transformation, wondering how he suddenly looks so much stronger. He realizes the Void Immortal visualization method is already working wonders on his physical development. Waving goodbye to his family, he heads out the door to finally tackle the placement exam. Arriving at the Liang City Sports Arena, he finds the venue with nervous, competitive energy. He stretches out, ready to put his upgraded stats to the test against the city's elite. Chengdu barely arrives before his former classmates start throwing around their usual tired insults. They mock his 2-year absence. Clearly convinced he is only here to pad their rankings, our boy fires back with a sharp jab about their own pathetic academic test scores. This tension spikes instantly as he refuses to back down from their aggressive posturing. Yangbei tries to intimidate him, but Chengdu remains completely unfazed by the empty threats. A friend steps in to de-escalate the situation, urging everyone to save their energy. This bullies retreat with a parting warning, promising that he will regret his attitude later. His friend worries that he is in over his head, but Chengdu stays calm. He learns that Feng Rui is acting so entitled because his uncle is the dean. Realizing the deck is stacked against him, he prepares to counter their blatant exam sabotage. This assessment begins with a brutal strength test, forcing students into groups of 10. Chengdu remains calm while his classmates scramble, clearly feeling the pressure of the event. These rules are simple but ruthless, as the lowest score in each group faces immediate elimination. Competitors are warned to conserve their energy for the upcoming combat duels, yet the tension rises. Chengdu decides to prioritize raw speed, channeling his internal power for a decisive strike. Feng Rui steps up with arrogant confidence, fully expecting to dominate the competition with ease. This first group assessment kicks off, and the atmosphere shifts as the real power is revealed. Feng Rui unleashes a massive high-velocity punch that tears through the air with terrifying force. This impact against the target is explosive, sending shockwaves rippling across the entire testing arena. His sycophantic followers erupt in cheers, convinced that his strength is already reaching elite levels. This bullies are certain Chengdu will be the first one eliminated from the round, but their confidence shatters when a massive surge of energy rips through the testing arena. Everyone is stunned to see his punch force hit 1500, far exceeding his expected level. His friend is absolutely floored, wondering how Chengdu suddenly became such a powerhouse overnight. Observers realize his martial skills are far beyond what a regular class student should possess. Instructors scramble to pull his file, desperate to understand where this hidden talent came from. They are shocked to discover he has already achieved 55% mastery in martial arts. Chengdu remains cool and collected, ready to prove his true strength to the entire crowd. This arena prepares for the next phase as the students gather for the combat duels. He steps forward with a determined look, ready to face whoever dares to challenge him. This tension reaches a breaking point as Chengdu faces off against his arrogant rival. Onlookers whisper in disbelief, questioning if raw strength can truly overcome refined martial techniques. Feng Rui draws his weapon, dismissing his opponent's previous success as nothing more than luck. Our hero remains unfazed, offering a calm smile that only fuels his enemy's growing rage. This duel erupts into motion as Chengdu initiates a series of rapid, precise strikes. He channels his internal energy into his blade, turning the tide with effortless, fluid movements. A single, decisive blow lands with overwhelming force, catching his opponent completely off guard. Feng Rui stumbles back, his confidence shattered by the sheer speed of the counterattack. Desperate to regain control, he unleashes a final reckless surge of power toward our hero. Chengdu stands his ground, ready to dismantle this last attempt with his superior skill. Chengdu deflects the incoming assault with a sharp, calculated movement of his blade. His rival lunges forward with a desperate, high-stakes strike fueled by pure, unadulterated rage. But our hero keeps his cool, meeting the aggressive charge with a precise counter maneuver. Realizing that human opponents are far less predictable than the beasts in his training, he channels his internal energy into a focused high-velocity strike to break the stalemate. Launching himself into the air, he delivers a powerful, glowing blow that shakes the arena. His opponent falters as his footing crumbles, leaving him wide open for a decisive finish. Chengdu unleashes his signature technique, cutting through the air with a blinding, ethereal light. This impact forces his rival to recoil, clearly overwhelmed by the sudden surge of power, and with one final masterful motion, he disarms his opponent to end the duel abruptly. Chengdu lands a clean, precise strike that completely overwhelms his opponent's defenses in seconds, delivering a final, decisive blow that sends his rival crashing down to the arena floor, leaving the arrogant bully incapacitated while the crowd watches in absolute, stunned silence at the result. His classmates scramble to process the impossible outcome, questioning how he could possibly be this strong. While the medical team rushes in to haul the defeated student away on a stretcher, Chengdu stands his ground, calm and collected, as he is approached by a stern instructor. Teacher Ling steps forward, his expression unreadable as he assesses the aftermath of the brutal duel. Our hero offers a polite, slightly dismissive apology for his lack of restraint during the fight. This teacher advises him to be more careful, though he clearly recognizes the boy's immense talent, as the staff realizes Chengdu's martial mastery is far beyond the expected level for his age. With his family out for the day, Chengdu realizes he has some rare free time. He decides to utilize the school's virtual combat pod to sharpen his skills against simulated opponents. These pods are perfect for practicing against human-like fighters without needing a real-life sparring partner. Despite his monster-slaying experience, his low virtual rank means he needs to climb the ladder quickly. He knows his recent victory over the bully will likely trigger some petty retaliation from rivals. Stepping into the machine, he realizes this platform is the key to proving his true worth. By climbing the global genius rankings, he can force his way into the prestigious Hongji class. This system hums to life as he prepares to show the world his actual combat potential. Entering the digital arena, he finds himself ready to test his limits against a new challenge. He initiates his first match, eager to see how his training translates into this virtual space. Chengdu enters the virtual arena, finding himself matched against a mysterious masked opponent. He scans the empty space, wondering where his challenger could possibly be hiding. Suddenly, a swift blade strikes from behind, forcing him to react with lightning speed. He barely manages to parry the surprise assault, narrowly avoiding a direct hit. This masked fighter complements his reflexes, warning him that real combat offers no second chances. Chengdu takes the advice to heart, deciding to stop holding back his true power. He channels his energy into his blade, engaging his opponent in a high-speed dance. This clash of steel rings through the digital void as they trade precise, lethal blows. Our hero unleashes his signature Azure Dragon Thrust, catching the mysterious fighter completely off guard. His opponent is left stunned, realizing he has adapted the technique into a unique sword style. Chengdu realizes his sword technique shouldn't be restricted by rigid traditional forms. He starts to grasp that the true essence of martial arts lies beyond basic movements. Yet he struggles to understand how his mysterious opponent anticipates his every single strike. Despite his confusion, he tries to stay focused while she keeps up the relentless pressure. She moves with an agility that leaves him questioning her true identity and training background. A sudden, swift strike catches him off guard, ending the intense virtual duel abruptly. This system confirms his defeat, leaving him to reflect on the gap in his skills. He logs out to analyze the fight, determined to master the core of his technique. Realizing his current style is too predictable, he studies the nature of his thrusting moves. He concludes that he needs to adopt a more tactical, assassin-like approach to win next. Chengdu decides to put his new tactical theory to the ultimate test in combat. He finds himself matched against a massive, chain-wielding opponent in the virtual arena. This heavy hitter launches a wide, sweeping attack that forces our boy to dodge. Confident in his superior martial mastery, he prepares to turn the tide of battle. He channels his internal energy into a powerful strike, aiming to create some space. His opponent scoffs at his technique, claiming that raw skill alone cannot win fights. This heavy hitter swings his massive weapon with enough force to shatter the ground. Chengdu remains unfazed by the display, ready to prove his rival wrong immediately. He unleashes a blinding, high-velocity assault that tears through the digital environment with ease. This sheer impact of his counter-maneuver leaves his opponent reeling from the sudden pressure. Chengdu catches his opponent off guard, landing a strike before the guy even reacts. He follows up with his signature Azure Dragon Thrust, securing a swift and decisive victory. Our hero reflects on his first successful execution of the technique while the system updates. He ponders the true meaning behind his sword style, seeking to unlock its deeper potential. Realizing that true mastery isn't just about speed, but adapting to any situation with ease. He understands the sword can shift between aggressive thunder and fluid, gentle water-like motions. Chengdu finally grasps that a weapon is defined only by the wielder's own intent. His technique hits 90% mastery, prompting him to jump straight back into the fray. He logs out of the virtual pod for a quick breather, feeling the physical toll, but the system confirms he has officially cracked the top 10 of the youth rankings. Chengdu is stunned to see his name climbing the global youth rankings so rapidly. This system confirms his impressive standing across multiple regional and district-wide combat leaderboards. Mastering the Azure Dragon Thrust has clearly paid off. Securing his path to the Hongji class, He heads back to Liang City #1 High School with a newfound sense of confidence. This campus is quiet, but he knows his recent success has already made him a target. Walking through the school grounds, he is suddenly interrupted by a voice calling his name. It is Feng Liguo, the Dean of Academic Affairs and the vengeful uncle of his rival. Chengdu offers a polite, brief greeting, clearly sensing the man's immediate and petty hostility. This dean nitpicks his uniform, clearly looking for any excuse to punish him for the duel, while his classmates whisper about the inevitable retaliation coming from the dean's office. This dean spreads malicious rumors about Chengdu, claiming his recent victory was entirely fraudulent. He loses his cool and lashes out with a cane. Desperate to punish the student, Chengdu remains completely unfazed, calmly questioning why his actions are being treated as violations. This only triggers the dean's fragile ego further, leading to another aggressive and unhinged outburst. Our hero effortlessly catches the cane mid-swing, showing the dean exactly who holds the power. This dean threatens him with expulsion, but his rant is cut short by a sudden interruption. This school principal and the city mayor arrive on the scene, catching the dean off guard. This dean scrambles to frame Chengdu as the aggressor, hoping to save his own reputation. This principal watches the pathetic display with a cold, knowing look that signals trouble ahead. He turns his attention directly to Chengdu, finally acknowledging the talented student in person. This mayor and principal arrive to personally congratulate Chengdu on his massive ranking jump, leaving the surrounding students and the bitter dean in a state of absolute stunned shock. As the realization hits that Chengdu is a genuine prodigy who never needed any shortcuts, this school leaders invite him to a meeting, confirming his immediate transfer to the Hongji class. They lead him toward the conference room, leaving the dean behind to stew in his failure. Inside, Chengdu meets two other top-tier students who have also been summoned for this briefing. This atmosphere is thick with curiosity as the three elite youths size each other up. They share a moment of awkward silence, clearly unfamiliar with their new high-ranking peers. This mayor explains that the 100 Cities District is organizing a major competition for seniors, and only the top 3 students from each city, based on the latest rankings, will compete. This mayor explains that only those hitting level 15 can join the upcoming 100 Cities Championship, offering massive incentives like college entrance bonuses and a hefty cash prize for the top 10. While the principal watches on, waiting to see if our hero is brave enough to accept, Chengdu questions why they are avoiding virtual combat in favor of a more dangerous format. This mayor clarifies that they will use specialized gear to equalize strength and ensure total safety. One of the other elite students brags about his rank, feeling confident in his own potential. This principal chimes in with a gentle reminder to keep expectations low and avoid unnecessary stress. Chengdu and his rival both step up, confirming their participation in the high-stakes tournament event. This mayor praises their youthful ambition, sending them back to class while they await further instructions. Our hero resolves to secure a top 3 finish, determined to finally provide a better life for his family. Chengdu steps into the prestigious Hongji classroom, ready to begin his new academic journey. Noticing the lack of assigned seating, he picks a desk only to be immediately confronted. A hostile student demands he move, clearly unaware of who he is trying to intimidate. Our hero realizes this massive aggressive rival is Pang Hu, the 10th-ranked student in class. Chengdu stands his ground, refusing to be pushed around by the bully's petty posturing. He calls out the absurdity of such outdated schoolyard tactics in their current competitive environment. Just as tensions peak, another student named Mo Late steps in to de-escalate the situation. Chengdu is caught off guard by the newcomer's speed, sensing a massive gap in power. Pang Hu backs down with a hollow threat, clearly wary of the intervention from his peer. Mo Light explains that seeding is strictly determined by rank, offering a warning for the future. Chengdu learns that Hongji class students must fight for their seeding every single month. The sheer intensity of this academic environment hits him harder than he initially expected. A classmate explains that the current seeding is temporary and requires a combat challenge. Curious about the stakes, our hero asks if these rankings actually impact his resource allocation. It turns out that higher seat rankings directly translate to better training materials and supplies. This top-ranked student sits comfortably, clearly enjoying the benefits of his hard-earned position. Realizing the potential for growth, Chengdu decides he needs to aim for the top. This group heads over to the combat room to begin the official ranking trials immediately. They enter the spacious arena where the upcoming duels will determine everyone's monthly standing. These rules are simple, allowing challengers to issue up to 3 duels to climb higher. Chengdu wastes no time, stepping forward to officially challenge the 10th-ranked student. His opponent reacts with a mix of surprise and genuine disbelief at the audacity. Classmates whisper in shock, wondering if the newcomer has finally lost his mind completely. They doubt his base stats can keep up with the elite. Despite his obvious talent, knowing the resource gap between ranks is massive, our hero remains focused on the prize. He stares down his rival with cold determination, fully committed to his bold strategy. This current 10th-ranked fighter laughs off the challenge, mocking the newcomer's lack of experience. Pang Hu looms over him, clearly confident that his physical advantage will secure the win. He sneers at the kid, convinced that this duel will be a quick, humiliating lesson. This match is officially set, and the two fighters prepare to enter the arena. Chengdu's opponent watches with a smirk, finding the newcomer's eagerness to fight rather dull. He decides that a little bit of hardship will serve as excellent training for the boy. This signal to begin echoes through the arena, marking the start of their high-stakes duel. Pang Hu bellows a taunt, fully expecting his opponent to crumble and beg for mercy immediately. Our hero remains calm, channeling his internal energy as he prepares to defy the odds. He focuses his intent, ignoring the loud posturing of his much larger and more experienced rival. This bully swings his heavy weapon with surprising speed, mocking Chengdu for being too slow. Onlookers gasp in alarm, convinced that the gap in their life strength guarantees a swift defeat. Meanwhile, the observer is stunned to realize that Chengdu's power has surged to level 5.2. Pang Hu laughs triumphantly, completely unaware that his opponent is just getting started in this fight. Pang Hu lunges forward with overwhelming force, expecting to crush his opponent in one go. But his eyes widen in pure disbelief as he realizes his massive strike completely missed. Chengdu slides underneath the attack with surgical precision, leaving the bully stumbling in confusion. Our hero immediately counters with a surge of energy, launching his rival across the arena. This entire class watches in stunned silence as the 10th-ranked student goes flying backward. Pang Hu hits the ground hard, completely unable to process how he was defeated so easily. Chengdu grips his blade with newfound intensity. Having perfectly executed his signature technique, Moleti approaches, shocked to learn that Chengdu has already mastered the Azure Dragon Thrust. This sheer speed of his progression leaves everyone present struggling to comprehend his rapid growth. Chengdu calmly turns his attention toward his next challenge, ready to climb even higher. Chengdu secures his victory, officially claiming the 10th seat in the elite Hongji class. This entire room erupts in shock as his peers realize he won with one strike. Classmates scramble to acknowledge his sudden rise, finally recognizing him as a true hidden talent. He declines further challenges for now, wisely choosing to conserve his energy for future growth. This atmosphere shifts as his former rivals suddenly pivot to becoming his friendly social contacts. Our hero feels a bit overwhelmed by the sudden influx of attention from his classmates. Even the defeated bully tries to smooth things over. Desperate to avoid any lingering resentment, Chengdu watches the scene with a calm, observant gaze. Unfazed by their fickle behavior, his day takes a serious turn when he receives a mysterious summons to the office. He steps inside to find someone waiting, signaling that a new, important chapter begins now. Chengdu and Ling Yun arrive at the office to inquire about special university recruitment opportunities. This principal questions their urgency, but Ling Yun insists that Chengdu deserves a fair chance. He warns them that elite martial arts universities demand nothing less than first-order perfection for entry. Ling Yun pushes for a practical test. Confident that Chengdu can prove his worth right now, this principal agrees to let him demonstrate his skills on the school's high-level testing device. Chengdu steps up to the machine with a calm, focused expression, ready to show his power. He channels his internal energy, his eyes sharpening as he prepares to unleash his signature technique, gripping his blade. He readies the Azure Dragon Thrust to strike the testing target with precision. A massive surge of energy erupts from his strike, shattering the device and proving his incredible strength. This principal watches in total shock as he realizes Chengdu has reached first-order perfection overnight. Chengdu apologizes for wrecking the testing gear, but his raw power speaks for itself. This teacher is absolutely floored, recognizing a rare combat genius with instincts beyond his years. He notes that the kid fights like a veteran who has survived countless real-world encounters. This principal immediately fast-tracks him to seat number 1, prioritizing his growth above all else. Our hero asks for clarification on the special recruitment process, eager to understand his path. They explain that elite schools require high stats, which are currently out of his reach, however. Special recruitment focuses on martial perfection, offering a golden ticket to top-tier universities. Chengdu confirms his target is the prestigious Huangshan Martial Arts University. Surprising his mentors, they question his specific choice, wondering why he is so fixated on that particular institution. He recalls a tragic past event involving a giant ambush, fueling his drive for strength. Chengdu recalls the brutal reality of past monster incursions where thousands tragically lost their lives, leaving him with a singular driving motivation to ensure his family remains safe from harm. He explains that he wants the power to protect his home if danger ever returns. His mentors are struck by his maturity, noting that such resolve usually comes from deep loss. They acknowledge that his heavy sense of responsibility is rare for someone of his young age. This principal observes that Chengdu possesses a level of awareness far beyond his peers. Our hero asks if he can treat other university offers as backups, but the system forbids it. They clarify that a binding contract is required, meaning he must commit to one specific path. This principal warns that the tournament is his best shot at securing a future for himself. Chengdu leaves the office, knowing he has 1 month to prepare for the life-changing competition. Chengdu heads to the martial arts chamber, determined to grind his stats into shape. He plans to use high-end medicine to boost his progress under the Tech Martial Hall. This world's power structure relies on 3 pillars, starting with the elite Extreme Martial Hall, while the Tech Martial Hall focuses on boosting humanity's raw combat potential through advanced science, and the Warrior Alliance keeps the peace, all led by the legendary second strongest human, Duragas. Our hero arrives at the facility, fully aware that the founder's reputation is absolutely unmatched. He walks into the center and requests 3 boxes of rare Thunderblood pills immediately. This clerk is visibly surprised by his bold request, as these aren't your average supplements. She explains that these potent items require a mandatory endurance test test before any purchase happens. Because the pills are dangerous, he must prove he can handle the intense energy surge. Chengdu confirms he is ready to face the intense endurance test without any hesitation. He steps up to the machine with a calm, focused look that surprises the staff. This testing chamber activates, surrounding him with a high-tech interface designed to push his limits. His companion watches with growing concern as the machine begins its rigorous evaluation process. Chengdu casually mentions that the equipment might be faulty after his previous performance. Back in his private training room, he reviews the strict guidelines for his supplement cycle. He holds the 3 potent pills. Noting that the shop's test was barely a warm-up, our hero decides to take all 3 at once, expecting a much more intense reaction. This moment the energy hits his system. His eyes widen as the raw power surges. He is immediately engulfed in a violent storm of electricity, struggling to contain the agony. Chengdu pushes through the intense electrical surge, refusing to let the raw power break him. He catches his breath as the agonizing sensation finally begins to subside from his body. This system confirms his life strength has ticked up to 5.3, fueling his ambitious growth goals. Realizing his funds are running dry, he calculates that his current pill supply won't last long. He concludes that winning the upcoming tournament is his only way to keep funding his training. This lingering side effects of the pills leave his limbs temporarily numb and completely unresponsive. Deciding to pivot his focus, he turns his attention towards strengthening his spirit in the crystal space. He reflects on his grueling night of combat against the giant, noting his massive spiritual gains. With his resolve hardened, he prepares to dive back into the fray for another intense session. He launches himself into the virtual arena, ready to clash with the giant once again. Chengdu arrives at class, eager to dive into the school's high-level training resources. Instructor Yadi introduces a specialized technique focused on mastering one's internal spiritual force. This elite curriculum is reserved for top students, and Yadi's own power is clearly immense. She explains that true mastery allows a warrior to use their energy with double efficiency. By concentrating scattered power into a single point, students can achieve massive explosive force. This technique, known as spiritual force enshrouding, is the key to maximizing every ounce of strength. Yad cautions that beginners shouldn't obsess over this yet, as raw life strength matters more. She prepares to test everyone's spiritual resistance, demonstrating her own control with a crackling aura. This class stands ready as she prepares a specialized flute melody to measure their endurance. Yadi offers Chengdu an exemption from the test, but he remains ready for anything. Chengdu suspects the instructor thinks he is too weak to handle the spiritual test, but he refuses to sit on the sidelines and insists on joining the challenge immediately. Yadi finds his competitive spirit amusing. Though she doubts he can handle the pressure, she warns the class that her melody will drain their energy and test their resolve. Our hero and his classmates brace themselves as the intense training session finally begins. Yadi plays a haunting tune that floods the room with a heavy, draining spiritual aura. Chengdu stands firm against the crushing waves of energy, his focus remaining razor-sharp. A spectral figure manifests from the melody, forcing him to engage in a mental duel. He realizes this is a form of spiritual hypnosis and counters with a swift strike. Our hero prepares to shatter the illusion, proving his mental fortitude is truly elite. Instructor Yadi watches in surprise as Chengdu remains completely unfazed by her spiritual melody. He stands perfectly calm while the rest of the class struggles to maintain their composure. Impressed by his resilience, she decides to ramp up the intensity to test his true limits. She channels more energy into her flute, forcing the pressure in the room to skyrocket. Classmates collapse one by one, their stamina completely drained by the overwhelming spiritual weight. Yadi keeps her focus on our hero, curious to see if he can endure the pressure. Chengdu stands his ground, his aura clashing against the melody as he refuses to yield. This room watches in disbelief, wondering how someone with his background possesses such immense spiritual talent. Even his rivals are forced to admit that his potential is far greater than they imagined. He stares back with unwavering resolve, proving that he is a force to be reckoned with. Instructor Yadi realizes that Chengdu possesses a rare, dual-threat potential for elite academies. She decides to push him to level 8, far beyond what the top student endured. Chengdu braces himself as the room fills with an oppressive, crushing weight of energy. A massive spectral entity manifests, towering over him with an intimidating, dark spiritual presence. He takes the full force of the entity's strike, feeling the immense burden on his body, struggling against the overwhelming pressure. He refuses to let his mental defenses crumble just yet. His eyes sharpen as he focuses every ounce of his willpower to counter the attack. Gasping for air, he manages to hold his ground despite the extreme physical and mental strain. Yadi is stunned, recognizing that his unique combination of spiritual and physical talent is miraculous. Word of his incredible performance spreads quickly, leaving the rest of the school completely shocked. Instructor Yadi confirms Chengdu's elite potential, leaving the principal stunned by the news. She insists he has the rare talent to reach the legendary skywalking warrior status. This principal realizes that Chengdu is far too gifted for a standard university path. He decides that the Black Dragon Martial Arts University is the only suitable destination. Chengdu arrives at the office, unaware that his entire future is about to change. This principal brings up the prestigious academy, testing if our hero knows the stakes. He explains that these elite schools ignore regular exams to hunt for true combat prodigies. Reaching that level requires immense life strength and mastery of advanced martial arts techniques. Most students lack the resources to bridge that gap, making the path incredibly difficult. Chengdu accepts the challenge, determined to secure his future without leaving his family behind. This principle suggests that Chengdu aim for the Black Dragon Martial Arts University instead. He advises our hero to focus entirely on the upcoming tournament for the next month. Morning breaks over the city as Chengdu prepares for another day of intense training. He heads home for a quick meal, keeping his intense schedule moving at full speed. His sister notices a strange change in him, sensing a new aura of mysterious power. She observes that he looks fitter and more confident than he ever has before today. Chengdu announces his plan to live at school to maximize his training for the tournament. His family worries about his health, recalling how he previously pushed himself to the brink. He reassures them that he has access to elite school resources to stay in shape, explaining that his new status grants him a private chamber for both training and recovery. Chengdu's father encourages him to keep pushing forward, fully supporting his intense training goals. He tells his son to charge ahead without looking back, showing total faith in him. Our hero finishes his meal and heads out, ready to tackle the day at school. His family cheers him on with warm wishes, hoping he brings home a top-tier victory. Arriving at his private chamber, he realizes the sheer cost of these high-end training supplies. He locks his device, signaling that all distractions are off the table for the future. Stepping into the training zone, he prepares to push his body beyond its current limits. He commands his AI assistant to crank the gravity up to 5 times the norm. This crushing weight hits him instantly, but he finds the intense physical strain genuinely interesting. With the 4th round officially underway, he readies his blade to face the mechanical opponent. Chengdu knows that in this crushing gravity, a single wrong move could break him. He narrowly dodges the mechanical opponent's strike, shifting his path to avoid the heavy impact. This system warns him that his evasion is burning through too much precious energy. Trapped between attacks from above and below, he realizes his usual escape routes are gone. With a smirk, he decides that if he cannot dodge, he will force the machine down. He plants his feet firmly, channeling his strength to counter the relentless mechanical assault. Driving his blade into the floor, he creates a shockwave that disrupts the machine's balance, and this opponent is caught off guard, forced to its knees by the sudden tactical shift. This machine activates its last resort, preparing a desperate counterattack to regain control. Chengdu watches in disbelief as the robot uses its own limb to deflect his strike. Chengdu finally shuts down the gravity mode, ending the intense mechanical training session. He decides to switch tactics and focus on his spiritual recovery to soothe his muscles. Diving deep into the void visualization method, he begins to channel his inner energy reserves. This surrounding spiritual pressure surges, fueling his growth as he absorbs the ambient power. His hard work pays off with a solid boost to his overall spiritual level. Despite the gains, his body is still feeling the heavy toll of his relentless training. He realizes that his mental exhaustion has reached a point where he cannot push further. Deciding that rest is the most efficient path forward, he collapses for some much-needed sleep. He drifts into a deep slumber, letting his body recover from the extreme physical strain. Waking up refreshed, he immediately heads back into the crystal space to sharpen his skills. Chengdu steps back into the virtual arena, his boots hitting the ground with purpose. He spots the green fire giants again, recalling his previous failure to take them down. Armed with his blade, he prepares to test his new strategy against the massive foes. He channels his spiritual energy, ready to prove that he has evolved since last time. Realizing those glowing green patches are actually healing energy, he identifies their core weakness. He concludes that by targeting those specific spots, he can finally neutralize these tanky giants. Thanks to his grueling gravity training, his agility feels sharper than it ever has before. He seizes the opening, lunging forward with his sword to strike at the giant's core. This blade connects with precision, cutting through the healing energy and disrupting the giant's form. Standing tall amidst the fading shadows, Chengdu proves his new tactics are truly effective. Feeling lighter than air, Chengdu is ready to crush the upcoming tournament competition. This big day finally arrives as the city buzzes with anticipation for the massive event. Our hero checks into a high-end hotel, feeling slightly out of place in such luxury. Tension spikes immediately when he encounters a registration issue that threatens his tournament entry. A rival named Wuzong is already losing his cool, demanding answers for being blocked out. He looms over the terrified staff member, his frustration boiling over into a public scene. This air grows heavy with his aggressive energy as he grips his weapon in rage. Onlookers watch in horror, wondering if he is actually going to start a fight here. Chengdu senses the raw power radiating from Wuzong. Realizing this guy is no pushover, a mysterious observer watches the chaos unfold, quietly ordering someone to keep him in check. A mysterious girl named Zhou Xiaogu arrives, immediately disqualifying any team lacking their full roster. This crowd goes wild as they recognize the local celebrity known as the Sea Princess. Chengdu is left confused by the sudden commotion. Having no clue who she actually is, his companion fills him in, explaining that she is an elite prodigy with everything going for her. Chengdu suddenly recognizes her from a past encounter, realizing she is someone he knows well. It turns out she is the same person who sold him those dangerous items online before. He is shocked to see her in person, noting her martial skills were already top tier back then. This organizers drop a bombshell, announcing a surprise badge battle before the main tournament even begins. Chengdu tries to wrap his head around this unexpected change to the competition's standard rules. This new challenge requires them to hunt for specific badges hidden within a massive forest arena. This competition splits everyone into two groups, Gao and Wu, to hunt for hidden badges, with only 50 spots available per side. Half the participants are destined for immediate elimination. This second round follows with a brutal one-on-one bracket that leaves almost zero time for recovery. Students are already sweating at the thought of facing Chengdu, the tournament's resident powerhouse. This third round promises massive cash prizes and points for those who can survive the grind. Reaching the top requires 3 days of non-stop combat, testing true endurance and overall strength. This instructor drops a final critical warning to ensure everyone understands the gravity of the rules. Lethal force is strictly prohibited, and turning a blade on a comrade means instant, permanent disqualification. Officials will monitor the arena from the shadows, ready to intervene if any team breaks protocol. With the stakes clearly set, our hero prepares to give his all in tomorrow's opening round. Chengdu is fired up and ready to prove his worth in the upcoming challenge. The students gather at the prestigious High City No. 1 high school for the event. Our hero stands before a massive, mysterious forest that looks nothing like a normal arena. Principal Zhou Chung steps up to address the crowd as an organizer of the tournament. He reveals the forest is actually a spirit realm, a rift born from ancient planetary collisions. Chengdu realizes this is a dangerous alternate dimension filled with monsters and no humans. This principal assures everyone that the realm is stable and certified safe by legendary figures. Despite the safety claims, he drops a grim warning that the trial still carries risks. He clarifies that participants will be assigned teammates based on their individual power levels. Wuzong looks visibly annoyed at the rules, while Chengdu keeps a close watch on him. This system confirms his registration, signaling that the trial in the Forest of Direwolves begins. A massive portal looms ahead as the crowd of eager participants prepares for the jump. They gather around a glowing magic circle, the gateway to their high-stakes survival mission. An official explains that this circle is a failsafe, ensuring they can be retrieved if needed. Chengdu and his squad stand ready, listening to the rules about hunting for real badges. This energy around the circle intensifies, crackling with power as the activation sequence finally kicks in. Light swallows the group, warping space as they are instantly transported into the unknown realm. Chengdu opens his eyes, his senses sharpening as he adjusts to the new environment. He finds himself standing in the dense, mysterious woods of the spirit realm, finally arrived. Scanning his surroundings, he turns to his teammate to decide which target marker to pursue. Chengdu checks his tracker, spotting a nearby badge location that might actually be real. He confirms the plan with his teammate, both of them ready to secure an early lead. They arrive at a mysterious stone pillar tucked away in the dense, quiet forest wrist. A quick strike reveals a hidden compartment, confirming the presence of a genuine competition badge. Chengdu reaches out to claim the prize, his finger pressing against the glowing marker. He admits he expected the starting area to be a trap, yet they scored a win. Suddenly, his eyes narrow as a sharp, unexpected sensation cuts through the forest's calm. A warning cry rings out, forcing him to react before he can even process the threat. A projectile slams into the ground right where he stood, narrowly missing his position. He realizes they are being hunted by someone significantly faster and deadlier than they anticipated. A sudden projectile strikes the ground, narrowly missing our hero as the ambush begins. Members of the Kun City team emerge from the shadows, demanding he surrender his badges. Chengdu realizes they are likely trying to intercept Musashi by camping the high-value routes. He notes their predictable strategy, thinking he can use their own plan against them. This team watches from a hidden vantage point, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Suddenly, a massive, unexpected creature leaps into the fray, catching everyone completely off guard. This beast charges toward the group, forcing them to scramble and defend their position. Chengdu recognizes the monster as a BB wolf, a creature not found in any records. He wonders if the monsters from the crystal space actually originate from these spirit realms. Realizing Musashi's influence might be behind this chaos, he prepares to face the encroaching threat. A massive beast lunges from the shadows, forcing Chengdu to shout a desperate warning. His teammate barely dodges the incoming strike, narrowly avoiding a direct hit from the creature. Chengdu realizes his opponent is far stronger than expected. Pushing his limits to survive, he focuses his gaze, analyzing the enemy's movements while preparing a high-level counterattack, channeling his spiritual force to the max. He readies his blade for a decisive strike. A blinding flash of energy erupts as he unleashes his technique, catching the foe off guard. He traps the enemy within a prison of light, effectively neutralizing their aggressive, rapid assault. This impact sends his opponent reeling, struggling to maintain footing against such overwhelming sudden pressure. Chengdu presses the advantage, forcing his rival to retreat as their defense begins crumbling. This rival collapses in shock, unable to comprehend how his own weapon feels impossibly heavy. This rival is left completely rattled, wondering just how much power Chengdu is hiding. Chengdu stands his ground, his blade ready as he prepares to finish the skirmish. He executes his signature sword technique, moving with a speed that leaves his opponent stunned. His precise strike hits the mark, cleanly cutting through the gear and ending the threat. Teacher Linbei steps in to intervene, clearly impressed by the sheer force of that attack. This defeated student tries to protest, desperate to keep fighting despite his obvious disadvantage. Linbei shuts him down. Noting that Chengdu's strike level is far beyond his current, he explains that the match was already decided, as a second strike would be fatal. This teacher watches Chengdu closely, realizing this kid is a talented talent that cannot be ignored. Lin Bei departs the scene, eager to see how our hero performs in the upcoming finals. Li Yuan steps up to challenge our hero, demanding a name for the record book. Chen Du brushes off the bravado, calmly declaring that he is aiming for first place. Back at the main hall, the instructors watch the tournament progress with growing, intense interest. Some coaches are already celebrating their perceived victories, completely oblivious to the real competition ahead. Mayor Q notes the rising number of elite students, while others debate the current standings. Confusion ripples through the crowd as they track the unexpected movements of the Liang team. Deep within the forest of dire wolves, the real test of endurance is just beginning. Chen Du's teammate is stunned by his bold decision to hunt down their strongest rival. Our hero remains unfazed, confident that his current power level makes the task look easy. He isn't just looking for a few badges, he is here to claim the entire championship. This instructors discuss the harsh reality of the spirit realm, where monsters lurk everywhere. They note that avoiding the BB wolf dens is crucial for any team's survival, while the Liang City team unfortunately stumbled into a massive pack of those beasts. This organizer remained confident that their elite students can handle any threat they encounter. Chen Du stands amidst the chaos, easily dismissing the surrounding enemies with cold, calculated precision. He manages the monster aggro perfectly, ensuring his teammates stay safe during the skirmish. This tournament bracket looms over them, forcing Chen Du to consider his path to victory. He stares down the intense challenge ahead, knowing the second round will be brutal. This path to the finals requires him to defeat 3 elite opponents in rapid succession. He unleashes his signature sword technique, cutting through the darkness with a flash of light. Frustrated by his own limitations, Chen Du curses his inability to carry the team effectively. He channels his inner energy, bracing for a clash against the encroaching shadow of danger. Analyzing the BB wolves, he realizes their power levels are far higher than he anticipated. While his allies struggle to hold the line, he knows he needs more speed to win. Pushing his senses to the absolute limit, he searches for that final breakthrough in technique. This beast lunges with terrifying intensity, forcing him to react with split-second, precise timing. He stands his ground as the creature closes in, ready to unleash his hidden potential. A surge of blue energy erupts around him, cutting through the chaos of the fight. Knowing he has only 2 minutes to clear the pack, he forces his blade faster, finally finding his rhythm. He strikes with newfound power and realizes he has finally succeeded. Chen Du maintains his focus, knowing that keeping his composure is his only real path forward. But the situation turns dire when he hears that his teammate has suffered a serious injury. He stands small against the looming threat, feeling the weight of the overwhelming odds closing in. His companion is clearly shaken and apologetic, paralyzed by the sheer intensity of the unfolding danger. Chen Du shouts a desperate command for everyone to retreat before the beasts lose all control. Despite the hesitation from his allies, he knows that standing their ground is a death sentence. He lunges forward with a burst of energy, intercepting the dark, aggressive aura of the enemy, crackling with blue lightning. He engages the massive creature in a high-speed, life-or-death struggle for survival. He leaps onto the beast, using his agility to turn the tide of this chaotic, brutal encounter. Deciding to hold the line alone, he urges his team to flee while he faces the danger. Chen Du urges his teammates to retreat, taking the full burden of the fight himself. He knows that berserk BB wolves lose all reason, making them predictable but incredibly dangerous. Drawing his blade, he prepares for a reunion with these beasts from his past experiences. This pack lunges forward with lethal intent, their claws sharpened for a swift, brutal strike. Chen Du stands his ground against the onslaught, parrying the heavy blows with calculated precision. Sparks fly as his steel meets their razor-sharp talons in a display of pure speed. He realizes these creatures possess a level 7 life strength, far exceeding his initial expectations. Back at the main hall, the instructors watch the feed with growing, nervous anticipation. They doubt any student could survive such a pack, dismissing his chances of making it. Yet as he continues to hold his own, they cannot help but admit he is impressive. This instructors analyze Chen Du's background, finding it suspicious that he never left his hometown. They initially dismiss his raw talent as simple natural ability, but the deeper mystery remains. It is not his power level that concerns them, but the terrifying nature of his technique. They struggle to grasp how a mere student could possess such a lethal, refined combat style. His movements are so precise that he anticipates every strike without even needing to look. He fights with the cold, calculated efficiency of a veteran who has survived countless real wars. This instructors realize that his instincts are far too sharp for someone with his limited history. Despite having no formal training or family connections, he handles high-level threats like a seasoned pro. Out in the field, Chen Du stands alone against the encroaching pack of dangerous beasts. He unleashes a flurry of strikes, cutting through the chaos with absolute, deadly, and perfect precision. Chen Du unleashes a brilliant blade technique, tearing through the forest with blinding energy. He quickly assesses the pack, noting their strength levels are surprisingly high and dangerous. Dodging a lethal swipe, he counters with a strike that sends shockwaves through the air. Using the environment to his advantage, he leaps off a massive tree to gain height. Sweat beads on his brow as he realizes he needs a breakthrough to survive this. Surrounded by the aggressive pack, he identifies the leader as the primary threat to neutralize. He lunges forward with singular focus, aiming to take down the alpha before it acts. A flash of light erupts as he cuts through the darkness. Closing the distance instantly, fatigue begins to set in, forcing him to realize that his stamina is rapidly fading. He grips his sword tighter, knowing he must finish this fight in one final push. Chen Du unleashes a flurry of strikes, but the beasts are relentless and incredibly fast. He struggles to keep his momentum up as his physical speed begins to falter. This wolves close the distance with terrifying agility, forcing him into a desperate defensive stance. He counters with a precise strike, channeling his energy to hold back the encroaching pack. Every movement is a gamble as he tries to find an opening in their defense. His blade arcs through the air, narrowly missing the target while the pressure continues mounting. Taking a hit, he realizes his current technique is simply not enough to secure victory. He pushes his limits, unleashing a massive burst of energy to clear the immediate threat. Frustration boils over as he demands more from his body, desperate for a final breakthrough. Back in the safety of the hall, the instructors watch, unaware of his internal struggle. Chengdu unleashes a flurry of strikes, his blade dancing through the air with lethal intent. He wears a calm expression, knowing this moment is the true test of his potential. Realizing this isn't just a simple match, he acknowledges it as a pivotal life lesson. He refuses to back down, channeling his inner energy into a surge of brilliant blue light. This power erupts from his sword, meeting the beast head-on in a display of raw force. Feeling the shift in his own technique, he senses a breakthrough that changes everything. He stands amidst the chaos, his eyes locked on the encroaching shadows of the pack. A massive beast lunges at him, its glowing eyes reflecting the intensity of the struggle. He reflects on his past mistakes, realizing that blind trust has cost him far too much. Deciding it is finally time to end this, he prepares to deliver the finishing blow. Chengdu's eyes widen as he realizes he has finally tapped into a new power. Blue energy surges around him, signaling a massive shift in his combat potential. He unleashes a swirling vortex of wind that tears through the surrounding beast pack. His feet plant firmly into the ground, grounding the immense force of his technique. This sheer pressure of his strike leaves the area cleared and his blade glowing. He observes the flow of his own energy, noting how perfectly it matches the wind. Gripping his sword with newfound confidence, he feels the weapon hum with refined strength. Walking away from the wreckage, he acknowledges the significant jump in his martial mastery. Back at the main hall, the instructors watch the screen in absolute, stunned silence. They cannot believe a student managed to break through his skill level during combat. Instructors watch the display, stunned that a first-order student could handle such a massive challenge. They analyze his sword technique, noting it possesses a speed and power far beyond normal expectations. Suspicion grows as they estimate his spiritual force is already nearing the elite level 10 threshold. Reaching that milestone so early suggests he might possess a rare and powerful martial soul. While some debate his long-term potential, others are simply impressed by his current raw performance. Meanwhile, the crowd notices the Liang City team reappearing, revealing they were guided by others. Zhang Shuai questions if they can easily snatch the badges from the exhausted competition. He remains confident that no student can survive that many beasts without being completely wiped out. Knowing the rules force a forfeit if a leader intervenes, he prepares to claim their spoils. They move in to scavenge the badges, fully expecting to walk away with an easy victory. Zhang Shuai gloats over his supposed victory, convinced his strategy has finally paid off. He surveys the aftermath of the battle, assuming the beasts were defeated by others, yet a lingering sense of unease begins to creep into the minds of his team. They spot the glowing badges resting atop the fallen creatures in the dark forest. This item sit there undisturbed, acting as a beacon for anyone foolish enough to approach. His allies marvel at the sheer scale of the carnage, praising the mysterious victor's power. Zhang Shuai remains skeptical, unable to shake the feeling that something is fundamentally wrong here. His eyes widen as the realization of the true danger finally begins to sink in. He screams for his team to retreat, correctly identifying the scene as a lethal trap. This realization hits that Chengdu is not the one who fell, but the hunter. Chengdu stands amidst the aftermath, calmly confirming he handled the entire pack alone. His rivals stare in disbelief, struggling to process how he survived such a brutal encounter. They cautiously approach, still reeling from the sight of the defeated beasts scattered everywhere. Questioning how he knew they were still in the game, they demand an immediate explanation. He points out the specific nature of the wounds, noting that unarmed leaders lack such reach. This sheer precision of the cuts proves that someone with a blade did the work. He recalls Teacher Ling's signature weapon style, realizing he missed a crucial detail about them. Keeping his guard up, he resolves to be much more cautious during their next interaction. He casually retrieves a badge from the fallen creature, shifting the focus back to Wu Zhang. Tossing the badge aside, he makes it clear that he only cares about finding his target. Chengdu realizes his true objective is to hunt down his rival, Wu Zhang. He checks his navigation, confirming that the beast pack was just a deliberate distraction. Suspecting the tournament officials might be manipulating the routes to force these deadly encounters, he tracks the signal to a nearby location where his opponents are currently hiding. Moving with lethal intent, he closes the distance before they even notice his presence. He demands they hand over their badges and forfeit the match right this instant. His rivals are stunned by his sudden appearance, clearly not expecting him to survive. Chengdu keeps his cool, his expression cold as he stares down his competition. He thanks them sarcastically for the earlier directions, making it clear he is hunting. Despite their shock, he remains focused on the mission, ready to take them down. This instructor calls out Chengdu for his lack of ethics, but he remains unfazed. His teammates look on in confusion as he brushes off the criticism with ease. Chengdu mocks the idea of martial ethics while his team hides in the brush. He explains that this is simply a matter of deception, not a lack of honor. They spot the opposing team and realize they are carrying the high-level martial badges. Luck is on their first side as they prepare to claim both badges in one go. His teammate questions if he is still up for a fight against the dangerous Wu Zhang. Checking his status, Chengdu realizes he is running low on stamina and mental energy. He admits that even a top-tier expert like Wu Zhang would be a difficult challenge now. Yet he remains confident, having tracked his rival down to finally settle the score once and for all. Chengdu keeps moving through the forest, determined to reach the final checkpoint quickly. He checks his digital map, signaling his team to head straight for the moon mark. Tracing a path with his finger, he insists they follow his lead to finish early. His teammates question the detour, wondering why they are straying from the most direct route. He explains that the competition rules felt suspicious from the start. Hiding a deeper trap, pointing out the location of their rival, he notes the strange placement of dangerous beasts. He asks his friend to consider why their opponent mentioned the midway point so specifically. Realization dawns on his partner as they grasp the true nature of the tournament's design. This real danger lies not in the badges themselves, but in the treacherous journey there. He warns that the entire forest is a calculated gauntlet meant to weed out everyone. Chengdu warns his team that the assessment is far from over, so they must stay alert. His companion acknowledges the gravity of the situation. Fully grasping the danger they are in, they move stealthily through the dense brush, trying to avoid detection by any nearby threats. Suddenly, a mysterious figure steps into their path, blocking their route with an imposing presence. Chengdu realizes they have walked straight into a confrontation with a high-level opponent. This stranger carries a heavy wooden case, looking completely unbothered by the tense forest atmosphere. It turns out they have encountered the High City team, led by two formidable experts. This rival leader eyes them with cold curiosity, immediately gauging their true combat potential. He correctly identifies Chengdu as a Tier 1 perfect expert, sensing his sharp sword intent. Without a word, the rival unleashes a barrage of flying blades, forcing them into a desperate defense. Chengdu and his team find themselves surrounded by the formidable High City squad. Zhongtian calls a halt, showing a sudden, unexpected spark of sportsmanship toward them. He notes Chengdu is already exhausted from previous battles and refuses a cheap win. Zhou Xiaogu steps up, declaring her intent to defeat both Chengdu and Wu Zong. She boasts about her team's 9-year winning streak and their drive for a 10th title. Chengdu watches them walk away, sarcastically remarking on their supposed heroic, noble demeanor. He finds their self-righteous attitude completely ridiculous given the cutthroat nature of this tournament. Xiaogu's aggressive, over-the-top combat style clearly contradicts the polished image she tries to project. He calls her out for claiming honor while actively hunting opponents at their weakest. She panics at the thought of the live broadcast, desperate to maintain her reputation. Chengdu retreats to his hotel after a long day of intense tournament trials, collapsing onto his bed to finish his daily mental refinement through the void method. He checks the digital standings, noting that 50 teams have survived the opening round, aiming for the top spot. He calculates that reaching level 10 mental power is essential. This breakthrough would grant him a massive advantage over every other competitor in play. Meanwhile, the instructors debate the top contenders, highlighting Chengdu and the mysterious Qu Zhongtian. Hearing the names of his rivals, Chengdu realizes the competition is heating up fast. He focuses his gaze, ready to face the elite fighters standing in his way. This arena atmosphere shifts as Zhou Xiaogu enters the fray with her signature blades. She locks eyes with her opponent, setting the stage for a high-stakes showdown ahead. Musashi finally confronts Zhou Xiaogu, eager to test his strength against her legendary reputation. She brushes off his challenge with a smirk, inviting him to face her anytime. He calls out her supposed invincibility, drawing his blade to prove she is not untouchable. Xiaogu immediately shifts into a combat stance, ready to show him exactly why she dominates. Their weapons clash in a blur of motion, sending shockwaves through the immediate training area. Sparks fly as they trade rapid strikes, neither side willing to give an inch of ground. This system monitors their output, revealing both fighters are currently locked at 90% capacity. Onlookers gasp as the suit sensors display their exact skill levels in real time for everyone. Xiaogu unleashes a powerful glowing strike that forces Musashi to pivot and dodge just in time. She keeps the pressure high, driving him back with a relentless barrage of high-speed attacks. This system registers a massive 92% skill index as the two fighters collide. Musashi launches a daring aerial assault, forcing his opponent to react with lightning speed. Xiaogu realizes he is holding back, maintaining a perfect guard even while mid-air. She analyzes his grip and stance, anticipating his next move before he even commits. Their blades meet in a blinding flash of energy, shaking the very air around them. This skill index spikes to 99% as the intensity of their duel reaches peak. Xiaogu barely manages to evade a lethal strike, feeling the sheer weight of his intent. She sustains a shoulder injury after he forces a sudden change in his blade's trajectory. Chengdu watches the exchange closely, baffled by his inability to read their basic techniques. Xiaogu laughs off the pain, clearly thrilled that the real challenge is only just beginning. Musashi pushes his limits, channeling raw energy into a strike that forces his opponent back. Xiaogu struggles to maintain her composure as the sheer intensity of the duel begins mounting. Their rapid exchange of blows creates a chaotic blur, testing the endurance of both combatants. Chengdu watches closely, finally learning why the final 1% of skill remains elusive. He realizes realizes that hitting 99% is only the beginning of a much deeper mystery. This secret lies in comprehension by analogy, allowing a fighter to transcend their basic training. This technique involves adapting familiar martial styles to completely different weapons for a massive advantage. Musashi prepares to demonstrate this concept by applying his signature hammer style to a sword. He initiates the first form of his chaotic technique, catching his rival off guard with speed. Xiaogu braces for the impact, realizing that the battle has shifted into an entirely new dimension. Mastery of intent allows a fighter to mask their true technique from any opponent. Chengdu quickly identifies the staff-based origins of his rival's supposedly unique combat style. He unleashes a counterattack, blending his own hammer-based maneuvers into a fluid sword strike. Xiaogu remains focused, her eyes tracking the incoming energy as she prepares to react. Spotting a momentary opening in his defense, she lunges forward with renewed, lethal confidence. She attempts to exploit his positioning, mocking the idea that a sword could mimic clones. Her opponent just grins, clearly impressed by her tenacity despite the mounting pressure of combat. He calls for her next move, baiting her into a reckless, high-stakes offensive maneuver, launching a massive sweeping energy strike. He forces her to dodge or face total defeat. She spots a critical gap in his form, ready to strike back with everything left. Musashi traps his opponent in a tight grip, mocking her for falling for his bait. Xiaogu realizes too late that she has been completely outmaneuvered by his sudden aggressive shift. This system registers his power at a near-limit 99%, unleashing a massive energy surge. A blinding pillar of light erupts in the arena, leaving the spectators in total shock. Confusion ripples through the crowd as they wonder if the favorite has finally been defeated. Just moments before, Musashi had launched a relentless, high-speed strike that overwhelmed her defenses entirely. He declares himself the strongest among his peers, his laughter echoing with pure, unbridled intensity. Chengdu watches from the sidelines, relieved he did not have to face such overwhelming power. Musashi channels his focus into his blade, the air crackling with his refined martial intent. He unleashes his ultimate technique, flooding the arena with a display of absolute combat dominance. Xiaogu unleashes a massive torrent of energy, completely overwhelming the arena with her raw power. The sheer scale of the surge leaves everyone watching in absolute shock and total disbelief. She stands amidst the swirling vortex, her eyes locked on her target with lethal focus. This system confirms she has hit the first-tier limit at 17, a truly legendary feat. Spectators whisper in awe, comparing her rapid ascension to the greatest masters in history. Musashi finally concedes the match, his blade stuck in the ground as he admits defeat. He sighs at the missed opportunity for a real deathmatch. Clearly frustrated by the outcome, Chengdu realizes her true potential was hidden deep, far beyond what anyone initially suspected. Instructors discuss how keeping her strength secret was a calculated move to protect her reputation. They agree that her exceptional talent makes her the clear favorite to dominate the tournament. Xiaogu stands alone in the arena, her display of power leaving the crowd completely stunned. Scouts from rival universities lament missing out on Musashi, now shifting their focus elsewhere. Chengdu watches the scene unfold, his expression unreadable as he prepares for his turn. This tournament brackets shift, signaling the start of the next high-stakes encounter for everyone. Spectators grow restless, bored by the lackluster performances following such an intense, explosive showdown. This tension spikes as the official announcement confirms a clash between two powerhouse squads. Whispers ripple through the stands, with fans buzzing about Chengdu's legendary solo performance. He steps into the spotlight, his calm demeanor contrasting sharply with the chaotic energy. His opponent, Jiu Daoran, waits, recognized as the elite leader who swept the previous day's badges. This atmosphere thickens with anticipation, as both fighters realize this match will be legendary. Chengdu sizes up his opponent, realizing that a top 10 finish is his new goal. His rival mocks that confidence, clearly unimpressed by the reputation Chengdu has built up. Jiu Daoran brings up Chengdu's recent solo raid, acknowledging the feat with a sharp smirk. He probes for weaknesses, wondering if the exhaustion from yesterday is finally catching up today. Chengdu wastes no time answering, launching a sudden strike that forces an immediate reaction. Their blades lock in a tense stalemate, testing the strength and resolve of both combatants. This system reveals they are evenly matched at 90%, shocking the crowd with parity. Jiu Daoran laughs at the intensity, questioning if Chengdu is too afraid of a long fight. He triggers a specialized sword technique, aiming for a swift victory to end the duel. This system spikes to 96% as their collision creates a massive blinding energy shockwave. Chengdu analyzes his opponent's Muramasa technique, noting its reliance on raw power over agility. He realizes his rival is banking on his previous injuries to drag out the fight, but Chengdu scoffs at the idea. Knowing his recovery has already shifted the odds, he lunges forward with a sudden, decisive movement to catch his opponent off guard. Rejecting the long-game strategy, he forces the pace to ensure a swift, clean victory. His rival is stunned to see Chengdu repurposing a thrusting technique with such blatant efficiency. This opponent tries to counter with a high-level Muramasa form, radiating intense, dark energy. Chengdu counters with a golden strike, shattering the incoming charge with overwhelming precision. This system registers his martial arts index at a staggering 99%, leaving everyone speechless. His opponent is left in total disbelief, unable to comprehend how his strength was surpassed. Chengdu faces a new challenger who tries to trap him within a restricted zone. but he remains calm while his opponent taunts him about his chances of reaching the top. Realizing she is a serious threat, he decides to prioritize a quick victory to stay hidden. Meanwhile, the scouts analyze his performance. Noting he barely meets the minimum mental power requirements, they discuss the massive potential of reaching level 10, which could evolve his very soul. This instructors reiterate the strict criteria needed to enter the elite Killin class for young prospects. They admit his raw stats are lacking, yet acknowledge he stands out among the other competitors, deciding to act fast. They plan to approach him tonight with a formal letter of intent. As the second round finally concludes, Chengdu heads back to his hotel to rest up. Reflecting on his progress, he feels confident that his training is paying off for the finals. Chengdu realizes that real-world combat is the fastest way to boost his life strength. He channels his energy into his blade, feeling the power surging through his veins. This system confirms his progress as his life strength climbs steadily toward the next milestone. Feeling the breakthrough, he realizes his recent battles have finally paid off in tangible growth. He spots a formidable creature nearby, ready to put his newfound strength to the test. With a calm smile, he prepares to see exactly how much his combat potential has evolved. Suddenly, his focus is broken by a strange sound, leaving him curious about the interruption. He finds a notification waiting on his device, a message from Teacher Ling appearing unexpectedly. Intrigued by the urgent summons, he heads over to her room to see what is happening. He arrives to find Teacher Ling waiting with two mysterious instructors, ready for a serious talk. Chengdu finds himself face-to-face with recruiters from the prestigious Killin Martial Arts University. He is stunned to learn they represent one of the world's top 3 elite institutions. They explain their mission to scout students, with the potential to join their exclusive class. Chengdu remains skeptical, questioning if he truly meets their rigorous and specific entry requirements. This recruiters reveal that his teacher has kept the secret of hidden treasures from him. They explain that becoming a martial artist unlocks a treasure used to absorb stellar energy. Hitting certain milestones early allows a candidate to open 2 of these treasures simultaneously, meeting both skill and power requirements at once. Might even trigger a 3rd treasure opening. These 10 total treasures act like passive skills that provide massive attribute boosts for fighters. Chengdu finally begins to grasp the true scale of the power he is cultivating. This recruiters explain that unlocking multiple hidden treasures at once marks a truly peerless genius. They emphasize that this rare potential is exactly what sets the elite apart from others, offering him a reserve contract to join the prestigious Killin class as a top prospect. They detail the exclusive recruitment process, which bypasses the standard application route for ordinary students, promising him a massive influx of resources, including rare medicines and specialized training partners. Chengdu listens intently. Though his immediate concern remains the well-being of his family, this recruiters clarify that strict safety protocols prevent family members from relocating to these zones. He politely declines their generous offer, revealing he has already set his sights elsewhere. This recruiters are left completely stunned, wondering if he chose a rival powerhouse instead. But he calmly reveals his destination is actually Huangshan, a solid choice among the top 8. This recruiters are completely floored that Chengdu would choose Huangshan over their elite institution, but he remains firm, prioritizing his family's safety above the prestige of a top school. They try to reason with him by citing the impossible odds of his current path, arguing that true influence and protection only come from reaching the highest possible martial heights. Yet Chengdu politely declines their offer, staying true to his own personal goals. He turns to his teacher, hoping for some guidance on his unconventional life choice. His mentor simply smiles, encouraging him to walk his own path regardless of the pressure, though the teacher privately worries about how to explain this decision to the school principal. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the Zhou family training grounds where someone is practicing, unleashing a powerful, fluid strike that showcases their dedication to mastering the martial arts. This training session intensifies as the young fighter struggles to keep up with her father. He effortlessly deflects her strikes with a single rod, showing off his superior combat experience. Despite her exhaustion, he urges her to keep going, pushing her limits to the breaking point. She vents her frustration at his relentless pace. Though her attacks remain completely ineffective against him, he reminds her that she needs to focus on the upcoming championship instead of complaining. Taking a break, she enjoys a refreshing drink while confidently boasting about her hidden trump cards. This atmosphere at the High City First High School auditorium begins to buzz with anticipation. Chengdu walks through the halls, unaware that he is being closely observed by others. He suddenly senses a gaze fixed upon him, his sharp instincts immediately picking up the presence. This observers are impressed by his high-level perception, confirming he is truly an outstanding talent. Chengdu learns that the school principals have arrived to personally scout the top talent. This tournament officials announce the final rules, splitting the competition into 2 intense rounds. This first round features random one-on-one matches, followed by a grueling gauntlet for the top 5. Chengdu realizes the gauntlet system is designed to reward efficiency and punish any wasted stamina. He eyes his competition, knowing that every single move must must be calculated to secure the win. Conserving energy becomes his top priority as he prepares for the upcoming series of rapid duels. This official bracket reveals his next opponent is Kuo Zhongtian, a rival looking to end his streak. Rumors swirl that his opponents are plotting to drain his stamina before the final round begins. Spectators openly doubt his chances, betting on the established favorites to crush his championship dreams. Yet Chengdu remains unfazed, unimpressed by the noise as he prepares to prove them wrong. A mysterious benefactor decides to offer Chengdu financial support after his inevitable defeat, believing the kid's talent is worth the investment despite his current lack of resources. Meanwhile, Kuo Zhongtian stands ready. Having easily dismantled every opponent he faced yesterday, he remains a total enigma to the crowd. Hiding his true skill and techniques, Chengdu keeps his guard up, choosing to analyze his opponent before committing to anything. This tension breaks when Kuo Zhongtian initiates the fight, eager to test his own mettle. He launches a swift, precise attack that forces Chengdu to react with lightning speed. Recognition flashes in Chengdu's eyes as he identifies the signature flowing light sword art. His rival smirks. Realizing they are both masters of the exact same specialized combat style, they decide to settle the score right now, clashing in a brutal test of strength. Chengdu feels the weight of his blade increasing as his opponent pushes the pace. This crowd gasps as the system confirms both fighters are locked at 99% parity. Kuo Zhongtian refuses to back down, channeling raw intensity into a relentless high-speed offensive flurry. Chengdu channels a brilliant golden energy into his weapon to deflect the incoming strikes. He wonders if his rival has reached a similar level of mastery through pure analogy, realizing the opponent is using spirit power attachment rather than the strange aura he expected. This system spikes to 99.2%, signaling an even tighter margin of victory. Chengdu knows he must end this quickly to save his stamina for the gauntlet. He stares down his rival with cold determination, ready to unleash his final decisive move. Declaring he will finish the fight in an instant, he prepares to shatter the stalemate. Chengdu launches into his signature Azure Dragon Pierce, aiming to break the stalemate instantly. His rival scoffs at the move, foolishly assuming it lacks the power to finish him, but Chengdu seamlessly transitions into a golden shock technique, catching his opponent completely off guard. He follows up with a swift breeze strike, overwhelming his rival with pure, calculated speed with a cold farewell. He channels his full intent into one final decisive sword movement. This strike lands with devastating precision, shattering his opponent's defenses in a flash of light. His rival stands in total shock, unable to process how his guard was so easily broken. Chengdu sheathes his blade as the system confirms he has reached a limit-breaking state. He stands calm and collected, having effortlessly pushed his martial index to the absolute maximum. Onlookers watch in disbelief, stunned to witness a legendary limit-breaking technique performed in real life. This crowd goes wild as they realize Chengdu has been hiding his true power. While he remains cool and collected, completely unfazed by the sudden shift in public opinion, his opponent is left reeling. Struggling to process how he achieved such a massive breakthrough, Chengdu simply walks away, leaving the defeated challenger behind without a second thought. This system officially confirms his victory, though he remains focused on keeping his secrets safe. Meanwhile, the scouts are losing their minds over his impossible rate of rapid power growth. They struggle to comprehend how he could have possibly crossed so many thresholds in one day. This realization hits them that his martial potential is far beyond what they initially calculated. Just then, two mysterious figures arrive at the arena, surprising the scouts with their presence. It turns out these high-level observers have been tracking his progress from the very start. Observers chat about the elite contracts being handed out to the top-tier martial arts students, while noting that Chengdu is definitely a dark horse worth keeping an eye on. But the mood shifts as favorites start falling to unexpected breakthroughs from their rising opponents. Zhou Xiaogu steps into the arena, radiating a calm intensity that commands the crowd's attention. She unleashes a flurry of strikes, her movements blurring as she overwhelms her defensive rival. Relying on her specialized leg technique, she pushes her opponent into a desperate, losing corner. A single, precise strike cuts through the air, shattering the last of her opponent's defenses. This system immediately confirms her total victory, leaving the spectators stunned by her sheer speed. Her opponent is left reeling, completely caught off guard by the sudden end of the match. This crowd erupts in cheers, realizing that Zhou Xiaogu is a force to be reckoned with. With the first round finished, the gauntlet begins immediately without any time for recovery. Zhou Xiaogu is announced as the first challenger, instantly raising the stakes for everyone watching. She steps into the arena with her weapon ready, radiating an aura of pure confidence, locking eyes with her target. She makes her choice clear to the entire stunned crowd. Calling out Chengdu, she signals her intent to take down the tournament's biggest dark horse. Chengdu remains calm, acknowledging her strength while preparing himself for the inevitable high-stakes clash. He welcomes the challenge, drawing his blade as they prepare to settle things on the field, their intense gaze locks, signaling that neither fighter plans to hold anything back this time. This system registers her martial skill index at maximum. As she lunges forward with overwhelming force, Chengdu channels his own limit intent, ready to counter her aggressive, high-level offensive strike. Zhou Xiaogu unleashes her powerful water-based technique, forcing Chengdu to face a massive surge. This arena floods with swirling energy as he stands his ground against the overwhelming tide. This system confirms his skill index has hit maximum, showing he is fighting at full capacity. curiosity. She realizes he is not just holding his own, but actively countering her best offensive moves. Chengdu draws his blade, his focus sharpening as he prepares to shift the momentum entirely. A mysterious blue aura begins to envelop him, leaving the spectators questioning their own eyes. His mentor watches in disbelief, realizing the kid has actually managed to pull it off. This crowd gasps as they witness his spiritual power hitting the legendary 10th level milestone. His soul has successfully evolved into a martial soul, a feat rarely seen at this age. With his new power surging, he commands her to strike first as the final clash begins. Zhou Xiaogu realizes Chengdu has suddenly accelerated, throwing her off balance in the heat of combat. She desperately tries to regain her footing as his pressure mounts with every passing second. Chengdu pivots with fluid grace, keeping his momentum high while she struggles to recover. Their weapons collide in a brilliant display of sparks, testing the limits of their gear. She notes the increased weight behind his strikes, suspecting his martial soul is fully engaged now. Chengdu maintains his relentless pace, refusing to give her a single moment to breathe. Zhou Xiaogu keeps her guard tight, watching for any mistake that might turn the tide back. Spotting a momentary opening in her defense, Chengdu prepares to capitalize on the slip. He closes the distance with surgical precision, forcing her into a corner of his choosing. She realizes her mistake too late, desperately trying to adjust before his next strike lands. Zhou Xiaogu desperately clings to the hope that she can still turn this around, but Chengdu keeps the pressure high, unleashing a relentless barrage of energy strikes. She struggles to parry the overwhelming force as his attacks continue to batter her. Chengdu remains fully locked in, his blade glowing with the intensity of his power. The scouts are losing their minds, realizing he hit the maximum martial skill index. They scramble to upgrade their offers, knowing he is now worth a top-tier contract. Meanwhile, the tension between the mentors grows as they watch the match unfold closely. Zhou Cheng remains suspiciously calm despite the fact that his daughter is clearly losing. He hints to Peng Fei that the tide is about to shift in a major way, and as the blades clash, it becomes clear that a massive surprise is coming. Chengdu realizes his opponent has suddenly shifted gears, forcing him to acknowledge her skill. Zhou Xiaogu admits he is a genius, yet she remains confident in her own superiority. She declares herself a cut above the rest, ready to prove her status through combat. The spectators are stunned to witness her wielding a martial soul with peak spiritual energy. She surges forward with overwhelming force, creating a massive shockwave across the entire arena floor. Chengdu pushes his own speed to the limit, refusing to be outpaced by her. Their weapons clash in a blur of motion, neither side willing to yield an inch. He channels his energy into a defensive stance, bracing against her relentless, high-speed assault. She keeps the pressure mounting, eyes locked on her target as she prepares another strike. Their final exchange ignites the air, marking the climax of this intense, high-stakes tournament duel. Zhou Xiaogu channels her water-based energy, preparing to overwhelm Chengdu with a massive surge. As their weapons collide, she questions his sudden loss of momentum and fading strength. Chengdu remains silent, enduring the pressure while his opponent grows increasingly confident in victory. She declares the match finished, convinced that his performance has finally reached its absolute limit. But Chengdu smirks, retorting that she has no authority to decide the outcome of this fight. He suddenly shifts his focus, channeling a surge of energy that catches her completely off guard. His eyes ignite with a terrifying spiritual shock, unleashing a devastating war stomp upon the arena. She realizes too late that his apparent weakness was a calculated ruse to channel his power. Chengdu surges forward with newfound intensity, breaking through her defenses in a flash of light, leaving Zhou Xiaogu stunned as the true weight of his martial soul finally descends upon her. Zhou Xiaogu stares in disbelief, finally realizing that Chengdu has been manipulating her perception. She understands now that the entire fight was just a clever mental illusion all along. A surge of intense blue energy erupts around her, signaling that the ruse is fading. She hears a booming sound echoing through the arena, causing her to look upward nervously. A massive dark entity looms over the battlefield, casting a terrifying shadow across the floor. She stands her ground with her weapon raised, facing the overwhelming presence of this manifestation. Brilliant lightning crackles around the area as the true scale of his power is revealed. Chengdu stands firm, his eyes glowing with a cold, focused intensity as he channels energy. His blade floats in the air, wreathed in a powerful, ethereal blue flame of pure spirit. He prepares to deliver the final strike, fully embracing the overwhelming strength of his martial soul. Panicked onlookers scream for Zhou Xiaogu to move, but the outcome is already set in stone. She takes a direct hit as the final strike lands with overwhelming decisive force. Chengdu stands tall over his defeated opponent while the system declares his total victory. Zhou Cheng watches the scene unfold with a grim expression, clearly shaken by the result. He vows to never forget the name of the boy who just dismantled his daughter's pride. Scouts realize Chengdu has mastered mental intent, marking him as a talent beyond level 15. They debate his potential, noting that he is clearly a rare, high-tier martial arts prospect. This discussion turns to securing an elite contract, which requires immediate approval from their principal. They scramble to make the call, desperate to recruit him before any other organization intervenes. A scout initiates the urgent communication, wondering if the principal will recognize such immense potential. Principal Pang Tianwen weighs the risks of offering an elite contract to a student like Chengdu, while acknowledging that bringing such talent into the fold could disrupt the established martial arts hierarchy. His scouts push for the deal, desperate to secure a rising star before their rivals swoop in. They argue that signing him now is their only path to finally escaping a mediocre tournament ranking. This principal remains cautious, stalling for time while he considers the massive implications of this decision. Back at the venue, Chengdu is officially crowned the champion, marking a historic win for his city. He reflects on the intense battle, realizing his recent training was the key to unlocking his potential. Mastering his mental power allowed him to execute that final, decisive move against such a tough opponent. He knows it was a narrow victory, but he refuses to dwell on what could have gone wrong. Meanwhile, at High City High, the principal prepares for a meeting that could change everything for him. A concerned assistant questions why the principal skipped the award ceremony to meet Chengdu, but the principal dismisses the missed opportunity, clearly focused on a much bigger picture instead. He orders his staff to contact the deacons at the Extreme Martial Palace immediately, announcing that the mysterious dynasty plan is finally ready to be put into full motion. His assistant accepts the directive without hesitation, fully aware of the gravity of this decision. While the city skyline basks in the aftermath of the tournament's historic and shocking conclusion, a celebratory meal is laid out at home, marking a rare moment of peace for Chengdu. His father beams with pride, congratulating him on securing the championship title for their home city. They share a warm, quiet dinner together, reflecting on the massive sensation he has caused. And with the prize money secured, Chengdu finally knows his family is financially safe. With the tournament win behind him, Chengdu enjoys a rare, quiet moment of family celebration. But the peace is short-lived as he soon finds himself walking the school grounds again. His sister questions his sudden decision to live at school. Clearly confused by the shift, she insists on working hard to match his strength, refusing to let their family name down. Chengdu offers a supportive smile, though he clearly has more pressing matters on his mind. His sister pauses, sensing that something is bothering him despite his calm and collected exterior. She jokes about his newfound popularity, unaware that a much darker threat is rapidly approaching. A terrifying silver demon suddenly manifests in the street, radiating a dark and hostile energy. Chengdu realizes the city is under attack. Wondering how such a monster bypassed their defenses, he locks his gaze on the threat, realizing that hidden dangers have been lurking all along. A terrifying entity emerges with 8 barbs, signaling a high-level threat that catches Chengdu off guard. He realizes the danger is immediate and shouts for everyone to run for their lives. This creature strikes with massive, dark energy, tearing through the environment with terrifying, raw power. Chengdu watches in shock as the destruction unfolds, his mind racing to find a solution. Knowing his own blade is left behind, he desperately scans the area for any makeshift weapon. He spots a heavy metal bar embedded in the rubble and leaps to claim it, gripping the cold steel. He prepares to face the monster, despite his lack of proper gear. Channeling his spiritual energy, he ignites the bar with a blue aura to boost its effectiveness. This creature lunges again, its dark fist closing in as Chengdu braces for the impact. He stands his ground, eyes locked on the beast, ready to trade blows in this desperate fight. Chengdu focuses his energy, channeling a specialized technique to counter the encroaching threat. He unleashes a concentrated burst of power, aiming to disrupt the creature's relentless assault, but the makeshift weapon fails to hold the necessary form, leaving him dangerously exposed. This monster's massive fist descends with crushing weight, forcing him into a desperate retreat. He barely manages to deflect the blow, though the impact sends him skidding across the ground. Reeling from the force, he struggles to regain his footing while the beast looms closer. Realizing the creature's power level far exceeds his own, he knows a direct fight is impossible. He desperately scans the area for an escape route, knowing his current gear won't last. This monster continues its advance, its overwhelming presence pinning him down in total silence. Suddenly, his sister intervenes, drawing the creature's attention to protect him at any cost. Seeing his sister in immediate danger, Chengdu snaps into action to intercept the threat. He lunges forward with a desperate shout, channeling every ounce of his remaining spiritual energy. His focus narrows to a singular point as he prepares to unleash a devastating counterattack. This monster looms large, but Chengdu refuses to back down against such overwhelming odds. Suddenly, his system pings with a notification that his sword art has reached a new level. He realizes that his combat intuition is evolving rapidly under the pressure of this life-or-death struggle. Applying his newfound comprehension, he strikes the creature with a force that defies all logic. This makeshift weapon in his hand shatters upon impact, leaving him momentarily stunned by the outcome. He stares in disbelief as the dust settles, wondering if his desperate gamble was enough.